With all the hoo-ha that's been going on in Parliament, what with Boris Johnson shouting humbug and the left trying to blame him for creating a toxic environment whilst bringing up the subject of Joe Cox themselves, I thought it might be helpful to recap what actually went on at Labour conference because I wouldn't want you to have missed it, and I fear many people will have. There was utter madness going on, and I just want to bring you the top level about women, about work, about schools, and about migrants. On women, Dawn Butler, who looks very much like this lady here, was given the fortunate job of talking about the menopause. I imagine that went exceedingly well when she said, "Oh, Jeremy, 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 what am I going to be talking about at conference? What's going to be my big thing? What am I going to tell the nation about?" And Jez said, "You're going to talk about the menopause." And so that was her big platform, the menopause, and she's going to make it such that if women are having hot flashes at work, men have to be a lot more understanding and responsive around them. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do, douse them in water, who knows. But anyway, that was the big Labour statement for women, was that there's going to be more consideration about the menopause. So I'm sure that's great news for the nation. On work, from straight from the Socialist Handbook, we're going to all do much less, but somehow get paid the same amount, if not much more. So Labour want to have a 4-day working week. They want a minimum wage of £10 an hour. And I quote, there will be a shorter working week with no loss of pay. Just because, Labour have this magic golden goose in the sky laying golden eggs. So that's how they're going to fund this very workable proposition. The TUC General Secretary, Frances O'Grady, she's a piece of work, said it's time for working people to share the benefits. That's why unions are arguing for less time at work, more time with family, and decent pay for everyone. Huge round of applause from all the lefties who aren't actually at work because they've gone to conference because they probably don't have jobs. So actually what this will mean, of course, is there will be less time at work, there will be less pay for people. There will be, of course, more 0 hours contracts because why do employers want to pay for you to sit at home? And more time for leftists playing Fortnite sat in their council homes. Terribly unfortunate. On schools, of course, because this nation has one great thing, which is private schools. And, from the Diane Abbott School of Maths, Labour think it would be a great idea to shut them all down. Let me explain a couple of things about private schooling. I pay for 3 lots of private schooling. I am also obliged to pay for 3 state school places for my children that we don't use and that we then free up for other good families to use. That is the benefit of private schooling. I take myself out of the state school marketplace and free up places for others. But because they're blinded by greed and lust and envy, Labour's policies are to shut down private schools, to expropriate their lands and funds, strip them of their charitable status and tax privilege, and also ensure that at university, you're only allowed to have the same number of private school students as a ratio in proportion to their prevalence in the wider population, which is 7%. So it's meaning that universities can only have 7% private school people. They can't have the rest, even if you're supremely intellectually capable, even if you're gifted, even if you might elevate the learning environment for others, you're not allowed to go because essentially Labour are jealous that you've been to private school, despite the fact that most of Labour put their own kids into private school because they know it's generally better. Now, on India, Labour managed to sneak through a motion. It was put forward by a Pakistani, it was shoved through by another Pakistani, Naz Shah, and it basically makes Labour the Pakistani party. They are trotting out the fake narrative spewed by Imran Khan. They're trying to say that Kashmir is disputed territory. No, it's always been Indian territory. And they're trying to say that it is currently suffering a major humanitarian crisis, despite the fact that Modi has actually made it such that there will be now equal opportunity for women, that women for the first time have the right to inherit property and can marry who they want. And somehow the leftists are against that. Strange, isn't it, when the lizard eats its own tail? But as a result of this ridiculous Pakistani policy shoved through by Pakistani MPs, even the Labour Friends of India were disinvited, uninvited to a dinner at the Indian High Commission because India says it wants nothing to do with a party that will put forward and support a motion like this. So that's Labour having written off any support from our great Indian allies and people from India here in the UK. And Labour really is now the Labour Party of Pakistan. No surprise, given where they need their votes and they need to placate their Pakistani voting base. And finally, just to cap it off, at the madness, when you thought Labour conference could not be any more mad when they've dealt with the menopause, when they've made it so you only have to turn up for work a couple of days a week, but of course you're going to get paid the same amount, when they've bashed and shut down and stripped private schools of everything that was ever given to them or left to them, and when they've frankly ruled out any further relationship or trading relationship with India, this is really the icing on the cake. Labour voted to end no recourse to public funds, basically giving migrants access to everything, give migrants free access to the NHS. Don't you just love that? So if you're a migrant, you come from anywhere on the planet, you get free access to the NHS just because Labour have got the golden goose, don't forget, in the sky, laying the golden eggs. So that's how they can fund this, because it just rains money if you are Labour or something. Give migrants equal voting rights. How about that, friends? We're going to extend free movement. We're going to close detention centres. We're going to treat them, let them give birth, let them have expensive operations because the taxpayer's going to fund it all. And then when we've given them all of that, we're also going to say, now you get a vote as well, because you're going to vote with Labour because we've treated you as victims. We've made you feel great that you're tolerated, so you're going to vote for us. So if you're looking for a parallel between Democrats and a party in the UK, the British Labour Party are essentially the Californian Democrat lunatics who think you can import the third world, have the third world voting for you, and still have a middle class that are going to fund all this. The last comment from Labour Free Movement was, amazing! Now let's elect Labour. Now let's elect a Labour government and make this a reality. I think the rest of us, sane people on the planet, would say, disgusting. Let's ensure that we never have this socialist government and that we do anything we can do to keep Labour from power. This is what Labour got up to at conference, and this is what you might have missed.